Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of weddings. Okay, today I am so excited because we have an amazing guest, an icon in the industry, a giant among giants. His name is David Tutera, and you probably already know his name because he's just that incredible. He has built a reputation of making incredible events, and if you haven't already watched his TV show or read one of the most amazing articles or followed one of the most amazing weddings that he has done, you're going to really want to be part of today's show because we're going to get a chance to actually talk to David directly and see, the stresses that come with being David Tutera. But before I bring on David, let me introduce our co-host, Marcy Gutenberg, with an affair to remember by Marcy, and the always gorgeous Brooke Logan Stoner. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, so we're waiting for David to be able to connect because he's got a crazy busy schedule. And from what I understand, he's got a really big project that's going to be coming out this summer.
Yes.
And I don't know if we're allowed to actually talk about it, but
we're about to find out.
We're about to find out. But, David has been one of those guys that has been incredibly accessible to our event community in general, because he's spoken at multiple NACE conferences, NACE National Association of Catering Events, and I know that he's made himself super accessible to other organizations like NAWP, and that's rare for somebody on his level and his caliber to make themselves available, because his schedule
for years he's been doing this too,
right?
And it's crazy,
ridiculously tight. And Marcy, you actually got to meet with David a couple of years ago at the NACE conference, right?
Actually, many years ago I met him, and then I met him again not too long ago, about a few years ago. We did a trade show here for weddings in South Florida, and he was he was the host, and he not only spoke to our chapter, but he also was able to speak privately with us. He gave us a private meet and greet afterwards. And that was so special that, we really appreciated that. He just is such an incredible man who has given so much to our industry and to our chapter and to NACE National as well. But he's just is such an incredible man.
Well, talking about an incredible man, let me bring on David Tutera. David!
Hi, everyone.
Hi, David.
Oh, David, I know that your schedule's like crazy busy, so thank you so much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. That's what's most important. Thank you.
I know, and I love your background. I love, perfect lighting, I have to say, because I hate my lighting. I hate my lighting today. Whatever. Anyway, I'll yell at people later. So David, we're so excited that you're on the show. And I found one of the things that when we were talking about, because we've talked to some really incredible event people, when you started out like the rest of us, just doing events. Yeah.
Yeah, I started out not knowing a single thing. I learned from trial and error and mistakes, and you just, over a course of life and time and decades, you begin to, know what to do and know what not to do and how to, respond to clients and deal with vendors and understand how to make a profit and how to make the right decisions for yourself and for your company.
So you had a TV show, and I'm from Dallas, so I'm from Dallas, Texas, and you did a wedding that was at the rail station in Dallas, and it was this, and I'll never forget this. It was like this total goth wedding, nothing but blacks and reds, and this huge kind of crazy. And I thought, there's no way this guy's going to be able to pull this off. There's no way, because of course the show led up to it, and it was stunning. And I went, I want to do that. That was my inspiration. I was like, oh my God, I want to be able to do something like that, because it's
funny because last night, it's funny you bring that up. Last night, my daughter, who's 8, had never seen any of my television shows. So we went on to, I forgot what streaming device we went on, and we watched 3 episodes. And she's like, Daddy, you did this? I said, yeah, like hundreds of them. And I woke up this morning and she was downstairs watching a 4th episode.
Like,
It was
don't go off school for a week, honey. Watching TV.
I know, but doesn't that make you proud? Because, you know, typically your kids are not interested in what you do. They're like, yeah, okay, dad, thanks. Okay, we're moving on. But, you know, the fact that she was so interested that she was like, oh, you know, I want to watch another episode. That had got to make you feel like proud, tug on the
Well,
heartstrings.
it's funny because I never really ever watched any episode that I ever produced. So, you know, it's true. It was sort of a rule of thumb. Do the job.
Right.
Don't look at yourself as a, you know, as a talking head. Concentrate on the content that you deliver to the viewer and to the recipients, which were the couples. And
Right.
it was the first time I sat down and I actually went, wow, this was a really cool show. Like I didn't really, you know, 12 years of doing television or 13 years of doing TV, I never watched myself.
Really? But was that
wow.
weird? But was that weird? Because I know I mean, it took us a little time to get used to watching ourselves, you know, and I mean, we're just a little local show. I know Brooks like crunch. You know, we're just a little local show. I mean, we were never supposed to be this big actually, or even to this level. So it still catches us off guard once in a while when people are like, oh, I know your face. I can't even imagine being David Tutera. I mean, because your name is synonymous with amazing weddings, events, and basically being famous. I have to say, I mean, how hard was that transition to go from doing a great job, having a great client list, to then all of a sudden having people have preconceived ideas about David Tutera?
Well,
right?
A little hard, I will be honest. I mean, you know, I stepped into the world of television simply because I was an entertaining expert on The View on ABC. So it sort of translated into me having my own show. But prior to that, I already had a successful business in creating events for clients in New York and around the country. So when I transferred into doing television, what I didn't realize was that was going to hurt my business. So TV created a brand. TV created a platform, created a personality. I get offended when people refer to me as celebrity because I feel that's just sort of a pedestal I don't want to be on. I'm an expert, you know. I'm not, you know, a Kardashian. I'm an expert in a field that we love, all of us love. Right. So when that had happened, that moment that sort of shifted from great company, great successful clients to now doing TV, all those really great clients dropped to me because they were like, he doesn't have time to work for me. He's now on television and he's a celebrity. So I had a loss of business for a good several series of years. And I hadn't realized what was going on until I figured it out. Right. And then we adjusted the business so it allowed me to go back to the business I had with my clients, newer ones, and still have a business on television, which allowed me to do that on my own time as well. But that was a big learning curve, with loss of money, chaos and confusion, and really trying to find my footing. It was tough.
Because, you know, the thing is that when you see somebody successful on TV, you just assume that they're successful in all areas of their life. And you have no idea that, oh, gosh, there's a perception issue that then happens with, you know, exactly what you said. Oh, he doesn't have time for me. He's doing all this TV. But TV is minuscule when it comes to timing, I'm assuming. It doesn't take you forever to tape all the shows, right? I mean,
no, TV took the amount of time television took was staggering to me on how long and repetitive and
production
and having to re-edit and reshoot. And it was one of the hardest things I learned, because as all we know in the industry of events, we are running at the fastest pace we can, and there's no going backwards to restart and fix.
No, never.
It's a timeline. When you're filming with multiple cameras around you, they can go, cut, do it again, cut, do it again. You're like, I'm 10 events right now.
You're like, where's the food truck? Thank you. That would totally be me. I'm like, oh, I heard about catering on those sets. All right, let me go get that food. I mean, that would totally be me. Marcy, did you have a question?
I remember when you did the conference out in Seattle and you had those vignettes. And I have to say, I mean, they were like massively tall, and there were 4 vignettes. And I just remember, I specifically remember the Western one. And I was I mean, this is like years ago,
Long time
and I still remember it to this day. I mean, it was just so impactful. The process that you must go through when you're exhibiting something like that is
Mhm.
just. I mean, I know that you work on projects all the time. What do you think is? Where do you think things are going right now with regards to what do you have big on your plate these days?
Yeah.
Oh
What's
boy,
newest
oh boy.
exploit?
I see you, Marcy. I see you.
There's a
Yeah,
lot going on.
Are
We've
you
got,
able to talk about any of them, or
yeah,
not at this point?
absolutely. Well, first of all, we have been awarded, and I'm proud to share this all. We've been awarded for the largest projects I've ever had in my career, all in the past, maybe 9 months. It's very exciting. It's almost
Wow.
one of those moments where you go, how did this all happen? Like I've done some pretty big projects, right? And then
Right.
the biggest project landed on my lap literally 9 months ago. I mean, it's the most epic. I can't talk about it, but I can say it's the most profitable and most difficult project that it's like doing 5 Super Bowls on one day.
Oh
Um,
my
yeah,
God.
and we are the project takes course over God, I think it's like 9 campuses. It's a corporate event, and we've got high end entertainment, and it's just exciting because when you look to say, okay, I've done, I don't know, 1,000 weddings, and then this comes on, and you go, what? This is like the coolest thing. It's a lot of work. And then we also got some of the largest weddings I've had in my career popped into my world in the past couple months.
Right.
I just wrapped up writing my memoir book, which took me 2 years. Which
You're
will be,
too young for memoir. What are you talking about? You are way too young for memoir. What?
I'm not too
Like,
young. Thank you.
like, you know what? Thank you for lighting because you're younger than I am. And I'm like, what? Memoir? Screw you.
It really took it was a long effort. It was probably not the best time to do it for COVID because it was very emotional, and it's a hard story, and people don't know people until they actually learn about them. So they'll be learning a lot more about me in a completely different capacity, not about my life in the world of events or television, which sneaks in there a little bit, but I'm trying to just share, it's basically the journey to joy, what you do to get to a place that brings you to a happier space.
I love that.
Speaking of joy, what would you say the most joyous moment was or still is for you in planning events?
I pause because everyone expects me to say some celebrity name, like when I worked for Elton John or Prince Charles, or none of that. It's none of
Hold on, let me pick that up. I just dropped a name there. Okay, let me pick that up.
The most memorable moments are when I created my wedding with my husband, or when I created my wedding for my aunt who's like my sister, or when I do my children's birthday parties. I mean, that is far more to me rewarding. Not that my clients are not important; they always are, but they go away, right?
Right.
These people are part of my life, and they always talk and remind me how wonderful that moment was for them, and I created that for them.
My favorite thing as a wedding planner is, the fact that, years down the road, and this actually just happened randomly. We were walking down the street and there was a whole group of people having pizza on the street and they all screamed. And I'm like, what's happening? And there was a bride that I had done their wedding like 8 years ago or something like that. And they were so excited to see me because they're like, oh my God, you made the most amazing wedding for us, blah, blah, blah. And to me, that was everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was everything to have that person because you make such an impact as a single human being.
Yeah.
There's not many jobs in this world that have that kind of emotional impact like we have.
I always share this on our mentorship program, and when I produce the David Tutera Experience, which is our educational conference, I always explain to all of us in this industry, we carry a very large abundance of emotion. And it is our job not just to make a pretty event, but it's our job to change people's lives. When I say change people's lives, I don't mean their personal things going on in their world, but allowing them to enter into a space that we've designed emotionally and physically and beautifully, and then depart from what we have created for our clients. And if you touch one person in that room, and hopefully it's 10 or 20 or 50 people, we have this innate opportunity to really shift people's spaces and shift their energy and allow them to leave and walk away from something that maybe just might have been a wedding or birthday party, but
Right.
we give them something that they least expect. And that simple thing is joy. And when you receive joy, you
Yeah.
take it with you and you carry it through.
Right. And I agree with that. And, and I think a lot of people forget that, the experience doesn't just happen during the event. It happens from the valet, the moment that the person pulls up to the valet, and it better be a smile kind of thing, to the very end. That car better be there quickly with a smile, because you can easily taint a really great event with just a misstep by some other character that's involved in the event. And that's hard, especially somebody that has a name like you. If it's a David Tutera experience, I feel like there's extra pressure on you. Do you feel that?
I do sometimes. I don't think I take myself that seriously. I respect and I'm grateful for people that go, wow, it's a David Tutera party and I'm excited to go. And
Right.
I don't think, okay, now I have to elevate it because they're expecting something. I'm so eagle-eyed, zoned into my client, and then understanding some of the dynamics that may be going on between family members or whoever it might be. And I feel like I think we all do this in our industry. We all wear multiple hats. We're all designers,
Psychologists,
planners, and therapists and magicians, and all the things I can list on and on. And when we do that, it means that we're fully connected. We're not just running a budget and waiting for a paycheck and moving on to the next project. If we invest ourselves every single time as much as we can,
right,
we'll be rewarded, they will be rewarded, and more importantly, their guests will leave with a memory that should never leave their lifetime.
But do you find it harder now because you've got multiple people that are now dependent on the David Tutera brand? As a small business, Brooke is my assistant. And so, I really have like Brooke and Marcy and a few other people. But, the thing is that you've got a brand, a company that depends on you and being amazing at what you do every single time. Does that get kind of like, do you ever go, God, I really would like a break just to
I would like a break. I would like a break. And I'm not saying a break from work. You couldn't have said that better, Keith. Everything we do, everything I create or touch or think of and put out there, you always have to think about what that potential consumer is thinking of it. Will they judge it? Will they say it's ugly? Will they think it's the wrong idea? Is it dated? Is it too outside the box?
Right.
And you really do have to take that time. It's funny. Yesterday I was just writing. I had to write Tutera tips for one of my product lines that's going into another retailer, and I have to think of like every word that goes onto the packaging. Like it has to make sense to the consumer, but also has to connect to the brand. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
It doesn't sound easy at all. I'm like, it sounds horrible. I'm sorry. I'm like going, whoa. I don't know if I could handle that kind of pressure. I really don't know, because that is a lot of pressure. But I guess it's something that you kind of get used to over time.
You do, but like when I did it again last night, like I took the words that I had created 2 days before, read them, and thought, I don't like the way it's reading for the consumer. So I shortened it. Yes, last night I rewrote it, added a couple more words, and then sent it off.
And then you have another company that overlooks it and then says, okay, maybe you want to change this couple of things, and then they send it back to you, kind of thing.
It goes to the licensing company. They take a look at it, and they, sometimes they come back and go, we don't like it. I'm like, but I like it.
Right.
Sort of like back and forth thing. And then, or they'll say that's a word that you can't use, or because everything is trademarked. All of everything we do is trademarked.
Well, and that's the hard part, because, as a wedding planner, as a small wedding planner, I'm used to having the final say in everything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to then have to get approval from multiple sources. I'm like,
let me say something, guys. When you do a television show and you're on TV for 17 years consistent,
Yeah.
You are told by everyone around you, do it this way, not that way, do it this way, try it that way. And you just begin to put, make believe muted earphones on, and then you just do what you want to do. And
Right.
you eventually, get the position of being executive producer of your show. And then you say, okay, guys, you can give me as many advices as you want, but I'm choosing to do it this way.
And it's advice. Remember, it's advice.
It's advice.
You're not telling me what to do. It's advice.
Yeah.
Well, and I find that interesting because I have tattoos, and I noticed that you have tattoos as well. Is that, I know, I was just like, oh, good for him. Yeah, me too. But I mean, does that ever come into play? I mean, because it used to be, tattoos used to be like super taboo, weird play on words. But have you? I mean, when did you decide that? Okay, I need to be my own person. I'm going to get my tattoos, and this is it. Too bad.
Embrace it.
And did anybody ever say anything against it?
When my daughter was born, when Cielo came into the world 8.5 years ago, it's funny, you're asking questions that all of these questions came up with my daughter.
That's so weird. Okay. Yeah. I'm the same age as your daughter. Great.
And she said, Daddy, why did you do that? I said, I wanted to do it because everything on my body, everything that goes up and around my body, it's all a story about my life. And it's all positive stories. It's nothing that's negative. So I look down and I go, oh, you know what? That reminds me of that. Oh yeah, that's reminds me of my daughter. Reminds me of my grandmother. That's my dog that passed away. It's all cool stuff. It's my story.
It's so funny that you said dog, because I have actually a random tattoo on my ankle of a dog that passed away. And I'm like, oh, that's so weird that you actually said that, because I looked down at it the other day and I'm like, that doesn't look anything like that dog. Anyway, I was like, well, okay. But so if you were looking back at your life as David Tutera now, is there anything that you would have done differently at the beginning? Would you have told yourself, like, be a little bit more quiet in your head? I mean, because I have that noise that happens in my head constantly. Like, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decisions? Have you looked back and went, man, why did I worry so much?
Well, I always worry. So that's something that I always had. And, I suffer with anxiety, so I have a worry and anxiety, so that's grown and gotten worse. But the reality is that I don't think there's a single thing I would have changed. I think the mistakes I made were intended to happen, and they were mistakes I chose to make a mistake, but I learned from them. So every step I took, I'd like to feel like that everything I did in my career and the steps that I've taken, big steps or small steps, were all the right steps. And some of them were really bad steps that threw me backwards, that made me learn something different that I wouldn't have learned. So the bigger question for all of us in this industry is to be really well aware and really understand where you are at the present time, where you come from, where you are today, and where do you wish to be, most importantly, tomorrow. You don't have an answer for that. I think you're most stuck in that place for a really long time, and so many people in our industry are stuck in a place trying to do the same thing over and over, when all you have to do is make a slight change, a slight modification, and that can shift everything, both for yourself and the potential consumers that will see you differently.
But I think self-worth is a major issue in our industry, just in general. And that's one of the things that I hear over and over, for especially in when we go to these conferences and stuff, is that people say, raise your prices, know your self-worth. And as people pleasers, I think we come from that side of my self-worth is based on how you react to my event. And sometimes it's hard for us as individuals to go, yes, I can charge that because I'm worth it. I'm good enough. I've done enough events. I have the experience to do so. I mean, how do you get to that point of figuring out your self-worth? And did you know your self-worth when you got into this business? And at what point did that finally started to happen?
I didn't know when I first got into the business. I knew nothing when I got into the business. So as I started to get these jobs that were small and became somewhat larger, and then all of a sudden, I referred to them to the billionaires of New York City that sort of knocked on my door because I knew it started to spread. Then I realized if that person who is a billionaire is interested in hiring me,
Right.
then I guess I am worth the value of what they want to spend. So it's a fascinating dichotomy of people's sort of thought process, because a billionaire typically doesn't want to spend as much because they say they can't spend that much, but yet they have it. Then they come to me to hire me to do their job. So that says to me that I'm worthy now of now elevating my prices.
Right.
And it was honestly probably about 8 to 10 years of that experience of these people in New York City that taught me. That didn't teach me legitimately, but they fed me the confidence to know that I can go get the Grammys, that I can go do Elton John, I can go do Prince Charles, I can do. They gave me the confidence. Now, did I like some of those people? Absolutely not. They were horrible. But what came from that was this ability to pull my shoulders up and step forward and say, here's my price tag.
Right.
This is what I'm worth. And in every one of our mentorship programs that we do twice a week across the board for our mentees, and in my David Tutera Experience conference, I must repeat myself over and over. You are not charging enough.
Right.
You need to charge more. Stop it. If you don't charge more and you break down what you're spending and what you're making, go home, because you're not wasting your time.
Right.
I'm hard on that. Charge more money. That's it.
Well, and we have to make a living hourly. We have to make a living hourly. And I think that's one of the things that we break, unfortunately in our industry, is that we tend to try to break it down into hourly and oh, how much I'm making. And that's probably not the right way to look at it. So tell me a little bit more about this mentorship, because you've brought it up a couple of times, but I don't know anything about it.
So the David Tutera Mentorship was born out of COVID, and my husband Joey and I decided to build a platform that was an educational program where you join as a mentee for a year and you get full access to 2 live calls a month. One is always on a specific topic that we teach.
Okay.
It's recorded, put into a portal. You can watch it anytime you want on your own. Then there's a secondary live Q&A where everyone gets on the Zoom call and asks any questions that are top of mind for them, for us to help them and learn. We have watched, our mentees grow into these incredible people. One of which is next to me right now, works for us full time, and we've brought people on to all of these projects that we're working on because they've learned. They've learned from my mistakes, from my ability to show them what they should be doing.
Yeah.
They've grown. They have literally grown. And it's the same with the experience, the conference that's a live conference in person. They're immersed into 2 full days of education where they get to learn from all of these brilliant educators on the stage, including myself and my husband, as well as people from around the world that come in to speak, and have 3 nights of amazing events that they can learn and watch and see amazing performances.
That's incredible. I mean, does it feel like a proud parent almost a little bit when you start seeing the successes that come from being a mentor?
I wish I had that. I wish that I was in that position to, have someone feed me the information, like the bad things and the good things and the why.
Because that's the hard part. When you get into this industry, and many times as a male and as a gay male in this industry, I find myself very singular and the world that is around me, because it's amazing how many times people are like, well, you're the only guy that we've actually talked to. And I'm like, well, don't hold that against me. It's like, I still can do the job, I promise. But, I wish there was somebody that I could have asked those questions of, that I could have reached out to when I first, because I did make so many major mistakes at the beginning that I think that if I had somebody like you or another professional that had been in the business and had made those mistakes, not that I would have listened, you
might have. If you
we're young.
But you know what the problem is, and I still think that we as an industry haven't grown for a lot of reasons, and I share this a lot, is that we have a lot of people in our industry that are elevated, who are very well known, who taunt and walk around and showcase their work, but they never share how they've succeeded. They share and brag about what they've done.
Right.
Don't say, this is what you need to do. This is what I charge. This is what my contract looks like. This is what you should put or not put into a contract.
Right.
And I find it offensive of our phenomenal industry that they can't share, that they have to hold it tight to their chest, and it's not helping anyone. It's not helping our industry. In fact, actually, I think it's making people step backwards. We as successful people in this industry, the platforms that I don't want to say stand on, but the platforms that we are in,
right?
We are now at a place where we have to pass it forward and say, no, do it this way. Charge $100,000. Why? Because give me the scope of the work and I'll tell you why that's what you should charge. And they just get up on stage and they show all the pretty photos and talk about how fabulous they are. And it insults me to a level and hits my core so bad that I don't want to see it anymore. I'm tired of the braggers.
God, I couldn't love you anymore at the moment. I really couldn't. I mean, because I'm hardcore about that, because I'm like, why are you so crazy about holding on to the information? Like, it's not going to affect your business. There's so much business out there. Like, shut the hell up. Give me some information that I can actually use and move on. If you're not here to give me some information, then I don't want to hear it from you. Move on. You know, and that's one of the things as leaders of our local community, because like Marcy is the immediate past president. I guess I'm immediate past president now of NACE. And, you know, that's the thing is that, we took that position.
Past president.
Yeah. Past president as a means of providing information and guidance to people that are in the industry. I mean, that's why we started this damn show for and why we do it week after week after week. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't accept sponsors. We don't accept payments. We don't do commercials because we want to have the information straight from the source because people need it. I mean, how are we supposed to get better as an event industry if we don't share our experiences and the things that have made us who we are? Right? I mean, I'm in no danger of losing my business to somebody else because I shared like what's in my contract. Right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm actually surprised that your phone didn't like ring more.
Maybe it's a new client. Hold on, please. I'm too busy right now. Bye.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
You're so right, Keith, and I think it's it's our responsibility, and I'm proud that you do what you guys do for sharing information and bringing on professionals and giving them the chance to share their knowledge with people that want to learn. I mean, if you're coming into this industry at 25,
yeah,
God help you. I mean,
you're 25.
25 don't know what they're doing, and it's an industry that isn't. What school are you going to walk in and say, Keith, knock, knock, I want to come work for you. I have a degree in, all this fabulous information. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. All of a sudden I'm doing the masturbation sign. I'm like, no, I don't care about your degree. I need to know about your experience and who you are. Like, what is your work ethic? You can't teach work ethic. You just can't.
You can't. Want to hear this one? This is a really good one. I'm going to share this story because I'm proud of this story. So
love it.
One of my very first assistants, back when I was in my offices in New York City, was interning at the Disney program in Florida.
Right.
And on my last day of shooting, I was shooting at Disney for my wedding line at Disney. And she walked into the photo shoot at the end, and she started packing up the chandeliers that were part of the back set for me. And then she came over and said to me, I know you're in New York, David, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I'd love to intern for you. My internship here in Florida is over, and I have a friend in New York that lives in New York City, and I'll stay with her for 3 months. Would you be interested in having me be your assistant? And it was her demeanor, and it was her professionalism, and it's funk. And I said yes. Fast forward, she was my assistant for, I'm going to say, approximately 8 years.
Wow.
Fast forward, we had a conversation about 3 months ago in Washington, D.C., and she says to me, David, I learned every single thing from you, every detail, every point that you taught me, I am using now. And just to share with you, she is the social secretary to the President of the United States.
What? Oh my God. I'm sorry. I got chills. I got chills.
And my excitement of this is that she listened and learned and took the advice I gave her
Yeah.
and took it with her and took off.
But she had a work ethic. That's what I'm saying. Is that she was already a doer. She was reaching out to you. She's like, look, my internship is ending. I want to intern with you. But that's what I'm saying, is that it is very difficult to teach a work ethic. Somebody has to have that like want to work.
It's embedded in them. It's born into them.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
And it's amazing how many people that we deal with on a daily basis that are just like, oh, just just spoon it to me. I just, you have the information. It's like, great, I'm happy to share it, but you have to also work hard. You just have to put in the hours, the just time that goes into figuring out how events work, which means that you're going to be there from 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. on your feet constantly, and you might get a snack bar. I mean, we as Brooke always says, she goes, I live on combos during an event, because that's like literally, I mean, that's all I have time for is like combos. Now for you, now that you're David Tutera, do you have a full staff, or do you find that you're still as involved and like directly involved in that person that's like, at the end of the day, your feet are bleeding and you're just like, oh my God, I need 2 days to recover from this?
We have a really interesting way of how we've staffed since COVID. So we've got a lot of people remote. On this big project, we've got a lot of people remote.
Right.
We've got a very small core group here in where I'm sitting right now. And we keep it very lean intentionally. And then when the client comes up and there's a project, we have people on the projects that we feel are best suited for that particular client. Now, there's some people that we would work with that might not be the right fit, so we'll find someone else. I used to run a office of 65 employees in New York City. Right. And that was towards the end of my career in New York, and I went, what in the world am I doing?
Oh my God. Too many personalities.
All this work, so 65 people can be making a salary, when at the end of the day, you lean it down or lean it up, and you make it a better group of people, as opposed to everybody just arguing about how to do it and what's the best way, or I want to do it this way, I could do it better that way.
Right.
It didn't work well for me. It's better the way it is now.
What do you do about the rumor mill? I mean, the thing is that if it's local, we can deal with rumor mills directly. But if you're in the national spotlight, how do you deal with rumors, or do you just say naysayers go away kind of thing?
Be honest, I ignore it. I actually pay no attention to it. I give it zero energy. Zero.
Really?
Absolutely. If someone says something to somebody else, here, I'll step in and support the other person who's being offended. But if it happens to me, I shut it down and I don't take any action on it.
Done. It's over.
Nope.
So smart. And so how did having kids affect your world? Did it intensify the experience? That and did it shift your what is important to you? Because I've heard that from several people that once kids entered their world, everything changed.
Everything changes. I mean, it's two little beings that take so much time in your life. But for me, I'd rather have my 2 children than have the biggest job in my career. I think they make us smarter. Yeah. I know that my daughters make me more creative. I mean, that just happens. Just listening to what they think and how they perceive, what I'm doing. And, and Ciela, who's 8, and Gracie, who's 3, my 8-year-old will now ask questions about why did you do this, or what are you doing, and how do you do it? Right. And I love that because, Ciela is very creative. I mean, she's a brilliant writer. She's incredible at movie clipping. And I think she'll wind up in the industry of some level of creativity, maybe the movie industry, who knows? I think she got that gene. And Gracie's just, a fun, playful, animated little girl. And they add a lot of different perspectives to how we work.
Do you see the world in a whole new way because of them? Like, do you see the world through their eyes?
I see our world through their eyes first, and then I see everything else secondary.
Are they into technology?
Oh, God bless you.
TikTok and all of those things.
I love the fact that you said the TikTok.
Well, TikTok. So, yeah, you can tell.
It's It's oh god.
the
Because
TikTok, I
honestly,
love
they
it.
are, at
Well,
that
we're
age.
blocked from it. So we blocked
Okay.
Yellow from TikTok. She's got she has a timing device on her devices, so she gets shut down after a certain period of time.
Right.
Comes to us for more time. You tell her no. She will go. We're probably I would say we are helicopter dads for sure, and super proud to be that.
Yeah.
We've had some issues with our children in schools because of having two gay parents. Shocking, right? You think it was like
What? I mean, you're David Tutera. What are you talking
yeah.
about? Like people went,
Oh yeah, this is for another day, another time. But when
6-year-olds don't care about that.
when I walk in and I talk about what to educators what they're doing wrong because there's two children that come from a different family, and every family's different, right? I go in and you want to see a mean papa and an upset parent.
Yes.
Come fill me on that one.
Well, welcome to Florida where you can't say gay. Just saying.
I'll say gay all day long.
I know, because I just passed that. So up until third grade, you can't say gay, which I'm like, really? Please. In the event industry, you can't say gay without.
What do you do if you spell gay backwards? Is that yad?
That's that old hag down the street that keeps talking about you. That's what the yad is. So, so I didn't even know that you had actually a husband or kids until I started actually reading.
What do you think? I have like 10 cats?
I did. I thought you were like me with like chihuahuas. Anyway, no, I'm lucky. I mean, I've been married to I've been married to the same person for 20 years. My God bless him, because I don't know how he puts up with me. But because he's an educator. He's a Broward education educator. So he's very linear and I am not. So that always makes it really interesting in our household, because he's actually downstairs with his earphones in because he didn't want to hear me talk.
Mine's sleeping.
Right. So Brooke, did you have any questions for David? I mean, this is a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity for us.
Well, of course I run up, and I don't usually, but I did today. But I just went on the brief clip of what the internet says, and I don't always do that because sometimes that's not correct. So, but the gist of the children and the things, I got that, and I know who he is other than that. So, I mean, I don't want to get too personal, but you kind of already did the things I would have asked anyways.
Oh,
so
good.
I'm kind of stuck with. I'm not the quiet.
Well, and and the thing is we've talked about this on the show before, because Brooke is trans, and we've had trans on the show before, and sometimes it's difficult sometimes to have that importance because she knows what she's doing. When we go to an event, I go, the event is yours. Goodbye. I'm going home. Like.
Yeah.
2 nights ago, right? Like 2 nights ago.
Well, I sent you home. You didn't leave.
Yeah, she actually did. She's like, goodbye.
I know what you want, so.
She's like, goodbye, go home. But the thing is that in your company, being as a gay man, have you found that it's not just being in the gay and lesbian LGBT, because now it's LGBTQ plus blah 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 blah. As an older gay person, I'm like, really? How many pluses do we need to have? Anyway,
Bobby Brinkman says that you guys want the alphabet.
I know, that's right. Bobby Brinkman said, yeah. But but in your industry, have you found that if because as a gay person, as a designer, I find that there's some girls, some brides that want that gay planner because they're stuck in the dynasty world where you had to be a gay planner in order to make something amazing. Do you fight against that sometimes, being a gay man?
I don't, because I don't ever walk into a space or an environment I would. I didn't need to know that Brooke is trans. I would never even ask or care, and I would never tell a couple
that's the label thing. You don't need it.
You don't need to know. It's not. I am who I am, who I've chosen to be, who I love, and what I want to be is my personal business. If somebody asks or wants to know that, or if you feel comfortable enough after 6 months and there's a conversation to be had, absolutely. But I just don't see people other than what I see. I don't see them as categorized into a box.
Right.
And I think we still have that problem. Like, we're all putting people into boxes. You look this way, you go in that box. You sound this way, you go into that box. Is she that way, or he that way, or what is? I've got so many people in my actual lineage of my family. I think I have one, two, three trans in my family, and those are two girls, trans boy, and then the opposite. And I just see them as who they are. Like, they're just who they are. They're nothing,
Thank
anything
you,
else.
Jesus.
And by the way,
I've been preached for years.
that's the way it should be with anyone, no
So,
matter what it is.
Well, so when you're planning a wedding, and we've done this before with a mixed couple, and having to deal with the family on top of this, who are like, really, these two are getting married? I don't really understand that. That's not my moral convictions. Do you find yourself having to stand up for the couple? Because I know I do many times. I mean, I've had straight out arguments with the parents.
I will not do that. That is not my role to get in the middle of that discussion. That is as much as I would do that, I would probably do that for a stranger on the street, but not for a client in a moment, because that's not what I was hired for. On the street, I'm a human being going to stick up for somebody who needs to be supported.
Right.
But not in my business arena. I would probably never do that. And listen, when I got married, my father didn't want to come to my wedding because he thought it was absolutely appalling, and me. So, and he doesn't even refer to my children as his grandchildren because, So, I'm used to that. But what I'm not used to is when people make other people uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable by somebody else.
I love the fact that you just stand up for people. I just love that. I mean, it's not something that I would have expected, honestly, from a personality. Like I said, I knew very little about you beforehand. I try not to do too much investigating before we have our conversations, because I'd like to ask questions on the spot. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Portchester, New York, which is a teeny town outside of New York City, 26 miles north of New York City. It was predominantly, and this is probably why I am who I am, it was predominantly Latin, Black, and a teeny bit of Polish. And I went to a school that was very racist. It was, every day I didn't know if I was going to get beat up or not. And then as I got older and it sort of became aware that I was gay, I wasn't aware other people were, right? I was bullied my entire time in school. And then knowing how horrible my days were, today, I attribute all of that for how powerful and strong I am because of what those idiots chose to say or do to me. And today, I'm that person, not that person. I'm the person I am today because of the strength and power they gave me.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I grew up in Texas, Plano, Texas. God bless them all, because I'm not going to bless them. Anyway, but it was the same thing. It's like I remember being bullied constantly, and I didn't even have the worst of it. I mean, I was always 6'3" and a big guy, so not a lot of people wanted to screw with me. But there was a point when I remember, like, one of my mom's friends said, "You got to move him out of this county. You got to get him away from this because it's going to cause damage long term." And I didn't really find myself in until I was in college, in my first couple of years of college, where I found my like real true chosen family. And I didn't really understand the idea of chosen family. But now you have your chosen family. Do you find more strength from that? Because you have a husband, you have kids, you've built your tribe, quote unquote.
I do. I mean, absolutely, yes. I mean, to me, having a family and a great husband and 2 children, I think is the most important thing than anything else.
Did you ever assume that you were going to have this when you were younger?
100%, yes.
You did?
Yes.
See, I would have never. I mean, before I got married, I never thought it was possible for somebody like me.
It wasn't supposed to be possible. So when someone tells me something's not possible, I'm going to goddamn make it possible.
I always wanted that shoe to fit when I was growing up, and I found a
Right.
pair. I finally found a pair that fit. So,
There you go. And when you find your place and you find what fits and what works, and you're in your spot and your place, you feel who you are. You feel exactly the way you're supposed to be.
So what do you see next for the event industry as a whole? Do you see us going more into technology, Zoom, kind of not in person kind of planning?
God, I hope not. I've been saying this over and over. I mean, yes, there's virtual events, but this is not what our world is. We are human beings that need to be with each other to celebrate together in an environment that they experience and see and feel. Now, if somebody is on a small budget and they can't do something, there's a secondary core of business that you can have. Doing 10-person virtual, ceremony. Sure, knock yourself out. I'm not saying remove it, but I'm not saying replace our industry with a whole nother new technology direction. If we go down that road, we're going to slowly begin to close businesses and slowly begin to lose income and slowly have no industry left to talk about.
I agree with that. And as you get more into the event world, are you finding yourself breaking off into other products, other forms, being a David Tutera brand? And the reason I bring this up is that, Monty from Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta, he has his own little like bouquet. I'm saying that wrong. Ladies, help me.
Boutique.
Thank you. Boutique. Oh my God. I just totally lost my brain. Anyway, he has his own little boutique and he has like the full Monty products, which he sent to us, which was really lovely. Do you find yourself that, is your passion always going to be events, or do you find yourself wanting to pursue other things?
To know me is to know that I get bored quickly. So I like to do a lot of different things. And we are launching a project that has been 2 years in the making. That will probably launch in another 3 to 4 months nationally. And it's something that someone can go online and order and receive the David Tutera experience in their home or wherever it is that they might be having a celebration. I'm not trying to give you vague enough information, but
I love it.
It's really, really well thought out, curated concept, which we are very proud of and excited to launch.
Amazing. Amazing. And I know that you're so crazy busy, so I don't want to actually keep you for the full hour because I know that you have another appointment like right after this. So I just want to say thank you for being on Behind the Veil. Ladies, right? Amazing.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
I mean,
In
David,
fact, David, I just want you to know I still have the letter that you sent to me all these years ago.
What year was it?
Do you really want me to say?
I'm like 92.
1999.
Wow.
I saved that letter.
Wow. That's so cool. Thank you.
It is. Thank you.
That's so cool. And wait, is it?
I mean, honestly, you were a huge inspiration. That was my very first conference, and you were such a huge inspiration because I hadn't seen anything like that. That was the first time I got to see something in such a magnetic way that it was just like my mouth was on the floor, my jaw was on the floor, and I had to pick it up because it was the first time I actually really felt it. I'd been doing events, I had been in the industry for a while.
Sorry.
But to really feel it is a different story. So I thank you for that.
Oh,
that was incredible.
I'm glad that you took something from that and it expanded who you wanted to be in the industry. You should come to the DTE. It's life-changing. It's like going to church for the event industry. That's how insane it is.
I love that it has its initials.
I love
DTE.
it.
You've already shortened it. It's no longer the David Tutera experience. It's DTE. I love that because that means something. But by the way, Marcy, did you have that in plastic? Is that letter in plastic?
No, I had it in my file cabinet.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought you were like, oh, let me like seal this so I have it like forever and ever.
No, I had it in my file cabinet. But that's actually a good idea.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's funny. David, thank you so much. It has been enlightening and amazing. And I have to tell you, I have a whole new respect. I mean, I was already respected you, but I only from the level of somebody that watches you on TV and hasn't actually gotten to talk to you. and I'm so impressed. I mean, I'm like so like I've got little chill bumps going on. I've got like the little nervous things going on in my stomach because I just think that you're so impressive, and I'm glad that you've never lost you and during this entire process. And I think that that's the big
Such
piece
a
here.
humble human being.
Really,
And
seriously.
that's like my thing. So I know that I'm doing the right thing because someone on your caliber that's super humble that I can just look at and relate to so easily. Boom.
And I love your background, by the way, and the pictures of your
texture.
husband behind you and everything. I mean, I'm like watching behind you, and I'm like, look at how cute
The
this is.
3D wall.
We've got 2/3 of my living room on the show. We've got the couch, and then the internet wasn't working, so now we're at the front door.
Oh my God, you're funny.
Live TV.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being on Behind the Veil. We will see you next Tuesday at 2:00. But for now, everybody say goodbye and say thank you, David.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you,
Goodbye.
David.
Thank you.